Hey, you made it. Thanks for being here. Now I know what some of you are thinking right out of the gate. Marvel is dying. They're toast, nada, finished, done. How did it get this bad? And I know how you feel because I feel the same way. Last weekend, I gathered my friends all to go see the MCU's newest installment, The Marvels, and I'm going to say something that most people may not want to hear. The Marvels wasn't that bad, or at least not as bad as everyone expected it to be. There were moments that I laughed, like really laughed.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
The CGI was decent. The writers gave themselves ample opportunity to be creative within their scenes, and they took those opportunities at times very well, and at other times they coasted. Now sure, was it great? No. But was it awful?
I'm gonna myself!
No. Then why? Why has this movie made no money, and why is it unacceptable? Anyway, my name's not important, and this is Abominable Culture. Marvel has been going through it ever since the completion of its magnum opus in its final movie in the Infinity Saga, Avengers Endgame. Since then, it's felt like our favorite movie franchise has lost their way, like somewhere along their cinematic journey, they have forgotten why they became the best and what made their movies so popular. I remember being a young child and getting the irresponsible privilege of being allowed to skip school on Friday so I could watch Marvel's newest movie opening night on Thursday with my best friend and father. I have such fantastic memories of candy, blankets, and popcorn while sitting down in non-reclining movie theater seats while watching Captain America throw his mighty shield. These movies, these memories, they were my generation's original Star Wars trilogy, our Halo 3, our lineup in wait for history moments. And no matter how naive we were to think so highly of these movies as children, those emotions to us were real. And they carried on throughout the Infinity Saga, and now it's different. Look, I'm getting carried away. This movie was important, or it should have been. For meant to be leading characters for future team-up movies, The Marvels should have been a chance for the fans to learn more about the characters within it without having to consume the overwhelming amount of TV content. The Marvels was the MCU's chance to revive Captain Marvel's character, to put some life into Monica Rambeau's, and to lay a foundation for Kamala Khan's career in this vast and youthful universe. But the movie struggles to do almost any of that. Instead, the main plot focuses on events shaped solely for what seems to be the purpose of getting us to the end credit scene and setting up lore in order to interweave the expanded Marvel universe. This movie, despite us being asked to prepare for Marvel's next big step, felt empty. And the small moments of emotion and camaraderie between the characters as a team and their individual relationship with the plot felt unearned, and the writing for those moments felt flat, as if the audience was expected to extend their disbelief extensively in order to believe the characters were feeling heavy emotions rather than the characters actually presenting those heavy emotions and allowing the audience's reaction to ensue naturally. Like we were being asked to react accordingly rather than organically.
You serious?
This entire movie felt like it could have been an email. And one of the leading problems is because these characters felt new. Characters which we've seen all before but haven't yet been able to grow a strong enough attachment to be invested in their struggles. Characters whose character is at times a mystery to the audience. Each have their moments, their lines of humor, their chances to save another, chances for growth, and all at times were done well. Yet our cursory knowledge of these characters and what seems to be avoidance by the writers to evolve these characters is what makes it hard for we, the audience, to connect with them. There seems to be a struggle for the Marvels to have any emotional connection to this movie's main plot, despite the dialogue saying they do. And the emotional connection they have to each other, built up over a very short period of time, felt unconvincing. Aside from Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan and admittedly a very few well-made scenes, this movie felt empty. And maybe that's because they didn't know what to do with it. Perhaps why they included an ensemble cast was because they knew Captain Marvel couldn't hold up a movie on her own, but in doing that, it took away the chances for the other characters to hit their potential. And maybe the reason is because the writers don't know how to write for these characters, as if they didn't know whether or not to introduce these characters as new or treat them as if the audience already knows them. And because of that, this movie struggled to invite the Marvels into our memory, leaving us to go home with nothing to talk about other than what this movie's actual purpose was for, the end credit scene. And at this point in the MCU struggle, many have also forgotten about that. But all of these things, both the good and bad, would only be known by actually seeing this movie, by actually sitting down and watching Marvel take another swing at propping up their next female lead. But what's really going on here? What's the bigger picture? Why this movie struggled to build hype is because Disney and the MCU have been losing their audience's trust. They have been losing the flair in their world building, storytelling, and character creation. But furthermore, and why most fans were uninterested to see the Marvels is because on top of the MCU failing to entertain their once dedicated audience, they also struggle to write female characters. The industry is struggling to write female characters. Yet one of the best parts of the Marvels is something that they didn't do. This movie didn't feel the need to point out or caricaturize the strength of women while belittling men or devaluing true equality. Whereas Captain Marvel's first in-franchise movie, and many movies like it, have people feeling as if studios have become more interested in message than story. One of the problems, one of the reasons people weren't excited to see Captain Marvel for her sequel and why many fans don't care for her is because she, like other female characters, weren't given a chance. But not by the fans, but by the writers. Captain Marvel is widely forgotten, at times disliked by fans because she was written poorly from the beginning. In these movies and shows, whether they be Captain Marvel, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Wakanda Forever, and others, the messaging has become too noticeable and too obviously pointed out that fans on all sides have started to reject it. Strong, independent women aren't the problem, and being a woman in a role traditionally designed for men isn't a problem either. But the success for those characters lies within the delivery, whereas the failure can lie in the same thing. We've had a large history of incredible female action leads, incredible shows of female stoicism and battle-hardened sacrifice, but new movies seem to have forgotten that formula. No one wants to be told a character is strong and independent. We want to be shown. And even then, dependency, depending on what type, isn't a show of weakness, but being dependent on those who you love, on your friends, your dependency on how the joy and safety of others is what gives you peace. These dependencies aren't weakness. They are a show of your character's moral strength. Something they forgot about in Captain Marvel and something they started the show in The Marvels. But it's become a case of too little, too late. And overall, it seems as though writers within the MCU, Disney, and many other industry giants are forgetting how to formulate well-rounded female characters. And forgetting is the key word because they have done it before but are losing their way. They are forgetting how to make a good masculine female lead or how to make a female lead at all. And although these masculine female characters can be great ones, there's one thing they all have in common, one thing that the messaging of these stories does not want you to forget, that I am a woman and I am doing what people expect a man to do. And if it's not expressly said in the film, then it's plastered all over the advertising, mentioned in interviews, and passively alluded to on screen. Female characters are being valued based on their level of masculinity. This is becoming such an oversaturated theme that it's no longer an interesting tool for stories to use. What writers and studios have shown us by removing feminine roles is that women can only be strong if they're masculine. That femininity is not worth a woman's time and it's not worth center stage or a hero's praise. That a woman's triumph is only valuable when compared to masculinity. That their only value is in how they can be compared to a man in his traditional masculine role. The best characters are the ones who battle through a mix of innate human emotions birthed by the natural coalescing of their feminine and masculine qualities. In other words, a normal person. One who takes part in the quintessential battle of the yin and yang of the human experience. Without this, your character is either stale or very commonly a villain. And furthermore, the average woman, who yes is going to be more feminine, is not someone we should take for granted. And let's be clear, scenes like the flashback in Captain Marvel of all the times Carol Danvers falls over and gets back up. Are those scenes cringy? Of course. But you'd be lying if you said that that scene didn't mean a whole lot to a young girl. You'd be denying yourself the truth if you said that that scene didn't inspire a young girl to ride a bike with no training wheels on. That it didn't inspire a young girl to try out for baseball because her town doesn't have enough girls for a softball team. You'd be wrong if you refused the possibility that that scene meant something to young girls. But the problem isn't that those scenes exist or that they are cringy. The problem is that the opposite side of women is being neglected, while men in these movies are passively being disrespected within the film's messaging. Movies only showing young girls how to be masculine or that masculine traits are valued over feminine ones in movies that further the divide between male and female relationships contributes to the same problem people have with young boys not being in touch with their more sensitive emotions. And it's all a shame because the Marvels didn't do this. The Marvels didn't have this kind of messaging. The Marvels wasn't bad. This movie at times was fun. The zany and quirky scenes within the developing dynamic that is the location swapping between the characters was a creative and at times a well-written way to show the relationship between these characters build, no matter how insignificant it ended up to be. We watched as what felt like new characters became an ensemble cast of interwoven storylines and emotions, all the while the main plot sends them throughout the galaxy, meeting bizarre worlds and characters to face the movie's main conflict. But the damage has been done. The writing never gave them a chance, and with that being said, there's more to this. Marvel has been slacking, and they know they've been. Despite the Marvels not contributing wholly to the strong female lead trope and the tearing down of male characters, it was still just not all that great. Marvel has a problem, and it's in the writing room. Although at times fun, this movie, like I've been saying, felt empty. Disney and Marvel are seeing fewer box office returns and their shows are seeing less streams. Marvel's hubris of expecting their audience to have excitement simply for the continuation of the cinematic universe is causing its collapse. They're losing their brand of quality and their audience's loyalty. Their push for there to never be a season without a piece of Marvel content has left fans burnt out, unionist, overworked, and content half-baked. And with the release of The Marvels, a movie about a girl whose show many didn't watch, a woman who most forgot existed, and a lead most never came to light, of course it wasn't going to perform well, because maybe these were the wrong characters, maybe it was the wrong storyline, or maybe Marvel just didn't care. Look, The Marvels wasn't horrible, but it wasn't very good either. I wish there was more to say. I wish I could lay out succinctly and beautifully the reasons why this movie was made the way it was. I wish there was a poetic and wonderful message that I can gush to you about in a 30-minute video, but really, there just isn't. And although not every movie could be a masterpiece, or as good or better than the last, there should at least be something to talk about. Let's apply Occam's razor. This movie didn't do well because Marvel isn't doing well. Marvel is no longer associated with quality, but they are learning. And when it comes to their female characters, when it comes to any of their characters that are seen as a minority or marginalized, the problem at its core is that studios, writers, they are trying to fix a problem that they are supplying themselves. By pointing out that I am a woman and I can do it too, you are directly contributing to the idea that women can't actually do it. By pointing out that the people around me are the problem contributes to learned helplessness. By pointing out that you fixed something, instead of just fixing it makes people believe that there was something wrong to begin with and brings attention to it, which if done incorrectly can expand the conflict. Writers, studios, the media, instead of solving problems with their influence, they are farming the problem. But The Marvels wasn't like that. But no one would know it because no one cares. Anyway, thank you for being here. I'm glad you made it. And I'll see you on the next one.